Hey folks, this is Byron once again to testify for Jesus Christ. I am doing videos that have within them content from previous videos that I've done. My videos go back to 2008, some of the things that 2011. And some of those things the Lord showed me matters now. And I wanted to bring this up. I received a comment yesterday, February the 12th, 2020, from a lady who stated she had seen some people, some military police or some police prison guard types who've been through some training recently, and they've trained for in a particular course, or the style of training is called New World. And you can hear New World Order, things like that, anywhere up and down the street on YouTube, and also on television. But anyway, that put me in remembrance of a dream. And I wanted to kind of just share this, and I wanted to just use a verse that Peter used in 2 Peter 1:13. That Peter says, "Yea, I think it's good right now, or appropriate right now, as long as I am in this tabernacle, this body, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance." And that's what I'm going to try to do, is put you in remembrance of something the Lord's shown me, so that you can be in prayer and be planning to raise up and meet the occasions that are before us. The first thing I want to cover is in Daniel 11:32. Daniel 11:32. He describes something there, and Daniel's talking about the time when he's talking about the time when the Antichrist will come on the scene, and times will get rough. Jacob's trouble, some people call it. And in there he says, "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupted by flatteries. But the people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits." So you have two different groups. All right? People that do wickedly against the covenant, and right now we're under the covenant of grace, where we are under God's favor, the church age. So he says, "As such as do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flatteries." You could say the Antichrist will corrupt with flatteries. But then it says, "But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits." So you have two different types of people working opposite ends of the spectrum. You as a Christian will be on the side of people that are strong and do exploits. Now, doing an exploit doesn't mean you may not lose your life. I'm telling you that right now. There are many that are going to lose their life for the cause of Jesus Christ, and those people that do so and that are alive and remain when the Lord comes will be also those part of the first resurrection, which in Revelation we understand those are people who rule and reign with Christ. Those people that lose their life for the cause of Christ, those people that do not accept the mark of the beast, etc., those are the ones who rule and reign with Christ 1,000 years. You can find that in Revelation. I'll put the exact chapter on the screen for you. Sometimes you hear people tell you the people in the resurrection, so shall we ever be with the Lord, etc. And it just basically is kind of saying it's everybody. But there in Revelation, there's a record that it's the first resurrection, and it qualifies the characteristics of those people who were part of that first resurrection. And they themselves rule and reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Before I get into this, I just want to further define the two groups. All right. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, near the end of the chapter, starting at verse 9, we start hearing about this group of people. And this group of people are going to be the ones that are corrupted by flatteries. And let me just read this to you. Then we're going to go to Romans. I'm going to reinforce it with that group from Romans. And it says, 2 Corinthians chapter 2:9 said, "Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders." There's your Antichrist. And it says, "And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. That's this group of people I was telling you that are going to be corrupted by flatteries. And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. For this cause, God will send them a strong delusion, that they'll be flattered into thinking, wow, check this out. Let's go for it. Then it goes on to say in verse 12, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And when you say, these people had pleasure in unrighteousness, how can we, understand that further? Let's go to Romans chapter 1. And then verse 28 we'll start at. It says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do things which were not convenient. Being even filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful. There's just some descriptions right there. It's been a whole day trying to figure out what all that means. And then it says, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So you got two different groups of people. That's that first group of people that's going to be deceived by flatteries, that's going to believe the lie. And you can basically just say, that's not the group I like to be around anyway. That group is not good. Well, they're going to be deceived. And then those that know their God, they will do exploits. Okay, quickly, the dream. This is extremely abbreviated to save time. In this particular dream, I found myself being corralled into what I will call education camps or indoctrination training. And in this indoctrination training, the leaders of the group, they would kind of, in a wisdom of this world's way, say, I used to think like you, like me, a Christian. I used to think like you, but now I think differently. And it's all about change. And they kept trying to persuade people to do away with their current thought process and to basically cling to a new thought process, which I knew in the dream was to think of this man, Antichrist, as God. Something occurred and I got real agitated. I put my hands up to this one chief instructor's neck. I didn't squeeze, but he began to choke without me touching him. It's almost like I mentally projected a choke on him. And then people that were in the auditorium that we were at, somebody yelled fire or some words that caused everybody to freak out and run. And everybody ran out of place. We ran from this central auditorium where we were getting the education class back to this barracks type place. And when I was going into the barracks type place, not only the people that were in there, but also the guards that were there to keep me in there were all saying, did you just see what happened? And they all knew something supernatural by God had just happened. That man experienced a choking sensation without having hands put on him. Now, that's one example that I can think of that I've seen in a dream that says they shall do exploits. There's all kinds of testimonies that's going to happen. Just as the Antichrist is trying to flatter people and he's got all his little, New World Order kind of guys running around trying to establish order, fear and shock and killing and all this stuff. At that same time, those that know Jesus Christ, those that know their God, they will do exploits. Some of those will be martyrs. They sure will. You can see that right there where I mentioned in Revelation. Some lost their life. Some were beheaded for the cause of Christ. But those people will rule and reign with Christ for 1,000 years. You can read it right there in the scripture I've given you. Others will not receive the mark of the beast. Those two. But others will not receive the mark of the beast, will not get it in their hand or their forehead. and they will live until the coming of Christ. And when they live, they shall be caught up together to meet the Lord in the air, and they will rule and reign with Christ as part of that first resurrection. So mentally, sometimes it's very difficult to mentally realize I'm going into a war, and this war is about God versus Satan. This war is in the spirit realm. This war is going to have things going on in it that the natural can't explain. It's going to be supernatural. I had a dream one time where I gave my testimony for Christ as these guys were about to grab me. You know, they were trying to basically strong arm me, you know. I gave basically gave my testimony for Christ about all the stuff he had done for me. Those guys fell down, and a bunch of other people fell down. Right there, you know, I'm like, okay, that's a little exploit, you know. Your attackers falling down. So anyway, it's very easy to go to the easy speakers, to go to the people that are telling you, oh, we're going to be raptured out before anything bad happens. And it's so easy to click and just get drawn into that stuff. Okay, you're kind of like, man, I want my ears tickled. I want to hear something sweet. I don't, you know. It's very difficult to stand with someone who says, this is war, you know, and we're going to war. And we're going to war, not in the physical with a weapon that people can understand. The weapons that we have are not carnal, but mighty through God, through the pulling down of strongholds. So they can basically get a whole battalion of New World Order folks and have them holding all kinds of people, but they can't resist the supernatural choke of God on their neck. And they can't stop other people from standing around going, did you see that? And believing on the Lord Jesus Christ right there as they're trying to tell them you shouldn't believe on Jesus Christ. Folks, this is going to happen. This is the future. It's going to happen. So I say that again to stir you up. You know, we have to make a decision. Are we going to be a soldier of Christ? And if so, what makes us think we're any better than him? He lost his life in his love for us. Some of the apostles, Paul, Peter, etc., you know, they were proud to have marks on their body for the cause of Christ. And there's no reason that we should not also be prepared to do what needs to be done for the Lord. Because, one, he loved us. 2, we love him. And 3, people's decision for the cause of Christ or for the cause of the Antichrist very, very well will depend on your action. And Jesus said, lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world or earth. And he's going to be right there with you. So thank you.